Alright, so this is a match that I had the other day in the WZ-132, the Tier 8 Chinese light tank, on Serene Coast, and basically the main thing that I wanted to highlight in this particular match was two things. One is flanking and being able to support, and two is this concept that I talk about a lot in the stream of you have to, win one flank before you lose the other, and that sometimes these things are time dependent. So I'll talk about that a little bit as we go forward. So the first thing that I'm going to do is try to get an idea of how many tanks are crossing into the middle and or going into this bowl area in the sort of through like C4-ish. And you can do that pretty effectively by just driving up to this rock. And so I see a comet there, and then usually people who are going over here, they take this A line back there, so it's difficult to spot them. So we're not too concerned about that. And then we get lit by something, and I think it's this IS-3 actually here. There's probably just a little gap in the vision pulses that allowed him to detect me without me being able to detect him. And so we have a T-34-3 down there, and see those guys are pushing him, so I'm going to try to get in there and support. That T-34-3 is probably one of the better players on our team, and so it's to my advantage if he doesn't die, especially since the other team has a pretty good platoon of top tiers. And so we're able to keep him alive, which is nice for two reasons. One, we don't lose control of this middle area, and two, again, he is one of the better players on the team, so it's always nice. And then so what we see is that we've got some tanks here, but we don't really have that good of positioning on this west side. We've got a few tanks over here. They've got, a third of their force over here, so this side might be a little light, right? They've got a third of their force over here. We killed two tanks in the middle, which means that they can only have, at most, what is that, 3 tanks left in the middle. We now see that they have, what, like 6 tanks over here. So the idea is that they're probably weak up this middle area, and so we'll go explore that in a second. I got spotted leaving this area, most likely by one of these guys over here. We see that at least 2 of the members of that good platoon are over on this west side. We have enough here to hold them for a little bit. So the idea is that we want to try to win. We want to get through to their base and or the backside of these guys in order to win before these guys win on this side. So we have this sort of window in which we have to work. There's an AT-7 here that we should be able to get to the backside of fairly easily. And then see how these guys are coming up behind me to actually support, which is fantastic. That's what you want to see. And then I'll activate auto aim here, and then you'll see that auto aim is aiming onto the sort of flat part of the engine deck, which is why that shot auto bounces. So I turn off auto aim and I just go manually aim into the back of the little upper superstructure there. And then now, right, these guys are still working on this side. We have an opportunity to envelop them on this side. We've cleared out this middle area here. And we see that all 3 members of that platoon are on this west side on the 1 line. So if we can clean this up quickly, then that's certainly to our advantage. And these guys actually pushed in pretty well over here, which is nice to see. This T-29 fell back to here. So now we've won this flank, right? They've broken through on this side, but it's already too late. They know that we're in their base. So we've got the advantage right now. So we need to just be able to press that. And then our team does things that I don't like, which is everybody comes over to this side and nobody comes over to the flanking side. I think flanking is a really powerful way to attack people. You don't want to do it quite as much in a light tank because it's really easy to get counter pushed and just taken out because you don't have a lot of armor, you don't have a lot of health. But if you move over to these types of positions, you tend to get good shots on people, so you can bounce off the back of a T-29. And then what I've noticed is, right, they're bringing in this T-54 came back. The Centurion, I'm not sure where he was before. Maybe he was there the whole time. So they've got more numbers here. So I can't stay here, otherwise they'll be able to just push in on me here. And I'm not sure where the ISU is until this moment. So this ISU is in this building right here, which means that their M103 is probably overextended, right? Their M103 is at the F line. Their next closest tank is at the B line. We don't know exactly where the Type 61 is. We figure that he's probably somewhere, you know, in the balance of that equation in the middle. I have an FCM headed towards the M103, so it'll be really easy for us to make short work of this guy. It would be nice if he just went over and took a hit and did one shot of damage to this M103, and then I could very easily finish him off. But if he's not going to do it, you have to have balls for your team, and you just have to do it. And so again, I just need these guys to do one shot of damage to this M103, and they have some issues with doing it, but eventually they get him after like 4 or 5 shots. And then I can't stay in that lane, right, because that ISU is there, and that FCM that was proxy spawning the M103 on the east side of the tracks, what he's not aware of is that he's proxy spawning for nothing. No one else on his team can shoot that M103, and he can still be shot by that ISU from where he was. So it's in his best interest to just go over and push the M103, but he probably didn't figure all that out in that space of time. And a lot of that is that you kind of have to know where the tanks are. Like when I pushed over on the M103, I was aware that the Type 61 was probably going to be someplace where he could shoot me. But the ISU, I knew from when I had passed, was back at the little buildings up in B5. And then this is another situation where you look at this, right? There's 3 tanks over here, there's 4 tanks left. The ISU was last seen over here. You don't know if he left over here, so you want to check this first. You want to try to clear this side before you push their strong side. And so that should be relatively easy to do. So I make a little jump, and this ISU gets taken out. And then now, again, we're going to be able to get to the backside of these guys, where these guys will be the basically opposing force. So we'll be able to get some flank shots in here. Their T-54 came around the back. Good for him. And then the team again does exactly what I hate, is that they all go to the same side. So then I'll just go ahead and move around to the flank myself. And then I was going to keep pushing in here and finish off that guy, but I thought that the Centurion might turn to push, because basically if you have, you know, 2 or 3 tanks on one side and 1 scout on the other side, it's very easy to counter push. Like if the Centurion and the T-54 both pushed me, it would be very easy for them to 2-shot me, but the Centurion stayed too far back, which basically allowed me time to whittle down the T-54. And then, so again, just sort of in review, a couple of things. Being able to save that T-34-3 in the middle was important. It would have been nice if we had some more support for him initially. The other thing is that we were able to win the East, you know, partially with the support of that T-34-3 and the IS that pushed up behind me, right? We were able to clear out their East before those guys were able to win the West. And so that changes the tone of the game, because their base is lost, so they can't beat us to cap, right? So they know that they at least have to send somebody back. And then so what happened was that they sent people back, and then they had an overexposure on that west side, right? So it was very easy for us to come back and start picking off those people on the other side, and then go back and then clean up the rest of the cap. So again, like, I say this a lot in the stream, and I really hope to try to get this through to people, is that a lot of times you have to not just pay attention to what's going on your side, you have to watch what's going on the other side. And if you're not, you have to understand when you're not working fast enough, when you need to work faster, or when the sort of situation is lost and you just need to all go back. That occasionally happens, and you have to try to sort of figure that out on the fly.